Kerri Rawlins, one of my educators, and we are doing the Pro Stitcher webinar. So we're going to learn some things about Pro Stitcher. This is Kerri, so you can see what she's one of my studio educators. Have some good times together.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so just remember, we always have to tell this, but the webinars are all recorded, and then they will be on our website, handiquilter.com, under webinars, education webinars, by tomorrow morning. And today we have lots of video for you to see, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but let's go forward and talk about the topics that we're going to discuss today. So one of the issues that our quilters have sometimes is how to find the new start point when your thread breaks, or when you run out of bobbin thread, or you run out of top thread, and how to get back to the pattern when you start quilting. So we got a written tutorial on our website, so a PowerPoint that you can actually print off of that, and then also a video. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. The other thing is we're going to learn how to advance the quilt and the design together when doing edge-to-edge quilting.
Which is so nice. Once you know how to do it, it's a breeze.
It is.
It just is so nice. Yeah.
Okay, and then the next one is how to reposition on the Pro Stitcher when you lose your position. Like if you leave for the day and you have to shut things down, and you have to get position back up,
yeah.
or your motors get turned, some crazy event, and you have to do that. Then the fourth thing is how to install a simulator on a home computer. We have Richard Ike helping us with that today. And with Richard's video that we have, it's very in-depth. But the one we've got for you today will be more abridged. And so to get the full in-depth one, tomorrow when we have everything on our webinar, on our website, the full 26-minute on everything will be included. Yeah. So today's more abridged for that. And then the last one is, the fifth one that we're going to do today is how to update your HQ Pro Stitcher to version 16.01.0091. Now, did I say only 2 zeros? Oh, well,
it's all right. It's on the screen.
Now, on our website, there are 2 versions, and Kathy Zimmerman from our Technical Solutions is going to help us on that and show you how to do that and why we would do that. Okay. So first off, then, we're going to go ahead and just scroll through a little bit of our PowerPoint on how to do a thread break. And this is not going to really go through much of it because the video is going to do that. This is something that if you need to, you can actually print this off and have it by your quilting machine, and like, what did you say? How do you do that?
It's a written tutorial, step by step.
Yeah, with the buttons and everything. Nice. So go ahead. And so it's just how to find it. And I'm not even going to go through this because I want you to see it video style.
On the film.
So just letting you know that this is here for you to print off the buttons that you'll need to press, what you'll need to be doing with that, so everything works great for us. Okay, so just going through this. And then the next one is how to install the Pro Stitcher. This is just a page that there are written instructions on the Pro Stitcher simulator. There are written instructions on section 8.6. You notice how I enlarged that so they can really see it. 8.6 on their Pro Stitcher user manual. So go in there and the written instructions on how to do it. But Richard Ike, our Director of Quality Assurance, has done a video. So, I mean, it is step by step. So hopefully there's nothing left out. And if there's questions today on any one of these topics, we have people answering those questions. We have Ty from our Technical Solutions team with us today, so that if there's anything that we can't answer or that Nancy from our marketing team can't answer, Ty is going to help us too. So hopefully we covered everything so that we get our answers. Okay, then the next slide that we've got is how to update your Pro Stitcher to version 91, we call it. So if you look at that full number, that number is 16.1. 16 is the year, 1 is the month, and then the version. And there's a 92 version and a 91 version and 92. And the reason those two different versions is according to what tablet you have. And there's a chart right here on the screen so that you can see what tablet you have. And that's the version that you would update to. And then the release notes on what it does for your computer and it includes all the previous enhancements, resolves unresponsive touchscreen, buffer underflow, and helps with the infinity on the console so it doesn't crash. So those are some things that help us with that. Okay, so we are going to go right into the videos. We have 5 videos on each one of these, one on each.
One on each of the 5
discussions. That
we're
sounded
going
a lot
to do.
better, didn't it? And so let's go on, and you're welcome to ask questions on the subjects of the day. We will answer the questions on the subjects of the day. So if you decide to ask a question on something with the Sweet 16, it probably won't get answered today. And if your question didn't get answered, then our team will answer those later by email to you if there's questions. So let's get started on our videos, and hope you enjoy this.
Hi, I'm Vicki Hoth, and I'm in the Handi Quilter studio today. One of the things that happens on your quilt that you sometimes just can't figure out, well, I've got the answer for you. How do I go back and find my start point when my thread breaks, or when the bobbin runs out of thread and it has stitched off down a ways? How do I get back there and get things lined back up again? So today I'm going to show you how to do that. I've been stitching this quilt, and the thread broke, and it broke clear back here. But it kept stitching because I'm on the Infinity, and I didn't have the thread break sensor turned on the machine, and I didn't have the thread break sensor turned on the Pro Stitcher, so it just kept quilting. Now those two features are on the Infinity or on the Pro Stitcher if you have it on the Infinity or if you have it on the Fusion. Now if you have it on the Avante, that feature is not available for you, so you will see that happen if you walk out of the room and it just keeps quilting because you ran out of bobbin thread. And so then you have to go back and find that start point and get it repositioned. Not repositioned, because you are positioned. You just have to put your start point in the right place to resume. So the first thing I need to do is I need to decide if I have to unpick any thread. And on this one I do. This is all loops. And so there's no start, there's no points. That's where I would unpick to, is a point, because you're more apt to be able to hide a tie off there. But since I don't have any points on these loops, I'm actually going to go back to where the thread crosses over. So that's going to be a good hiding point so that I can start quilting. So I need to unpick. So I will unpick this. And you can see how I need to go back to this point right here. So I can go ahead and unpick that. And if you just get that bobbin thread, okay, that's as far as I want to go back, because I'm even in a seam. So, well, no, we want to go back to there. I was going to say that would be a good place to hide as well, because there's a seam there. But I think I want to go back to that point. Okay, that's as far as I want to go. I'm actually going to just trim that thread. I'm not going to bury any threads. I'm just going to trim it, because when I come back with my, find my start point there, I want it to start stitching just a couple of stitches before I unpicked. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to disable my motors, and I'm going to press Quilt on the screen. And then in Quilt, I want to go to New Start End. And now I'm going to move over here. And right at this point here, I'm going to put my needle. And my laser light, I can see that it's pointing right down there with my infinity. Going to go right to that point. Now I want to have my green bullet go to that point on the screen. And if you want to see what it looks like on the screen, I'm going to go ahead and follow and zoom in on that so you can see the orange bullet that you see there. That's where I stopped. But I want to go to where the thread broke. So I've moved my machine over and I'm at that point. And now I want to move the green bullet to where my crosshair is. So if I press the Start Auto button down here, it moved. Did you see how that moved? It moved my green bullet over to where my crosshair is. Now I can move. If I don't like that, I can continue to move my machine, and that green bullet follows me. When I want that to stop following me, I press the Start Auto button and it will turn that off. And now it is set in place, so it's locked in place, and I don't care what the orange bullet, you can see that on the screen. It's the green bullet that I'm more concerned about. Now on my screen also you see two buttons. It says Tie Off Resume and Pull Up Resume. I tend to not turn those on. I like to do this manually. So I will manually use my handles and bring up my bobbin thread. And I'm going to hold both of those, and I'm going to go ahead and let that stitch over the top of those previous two stitches. So you can see there's a couple of stitches right here. And my bobbin thread that I brought up, that's where I'm going to start stitching, and it will stitch over those stitches. It will lock them in place. So there's no tie off. It just locks with the friction of the two threads. It locks them in place. All right, then now I'm going to press Resume, and it will continue around. And I'm good to go. Hi, I'm Vicki Hoth from Handi Quilter, and we are in the Handi Quilter studio. And one of the big questions of the day that we see a lot is, how do I reposition my design on my quilt after I have shut my machine down and had to leave for the day, and now I come back and think, now how do I get things lined back up? So we're going to do a little tutorial on this today so that you can figure this out as well. So first thing we want to do is look at our quilt and say, okay, there's enough space probably here that I can get one more row in. But since I'm advancing and having to reposition, I might as well give myself a full throat space. And I'm on the infinity, so I have a big throat space to get a lot of these rows done before I advance. So let's give us some good space to quilt. So I'm going to take my clamps off, release the clamps, and Kerri's going to help me on the other end. You won't be able to see her, but she's going to help me on the other end, so I get to stay here. She's taking the clamps off, and she's going to go ahead and advance the quilt so that I have enough throat space here to get 3 or 4 more rows in. So I'm just going to help you a little bit, making sure the batting is straight. A little bit more, Kerri. That's good. Thank you. I'm going to put those clamps back on. Now, one of the things that I like to do, because I can see right here, my batting is a little wrinkly, and so I like to pop off the pole here and actually just help smooth out that batting along the way. And so Kerri's going to do the other side of it. This is a really large quilt. And so Kerri's going to help me on the other side. I know you can't see her, but she really is here. Kerri's one of my studio educators. And so now I've got everything smooth under there, looking good. And I'm going to go ahead and put that pole back on. Okay, and the next thing I want to do is put my clamps back on. I always want to have the proper tension on the quilt. So go ahead and put the clamps back on, and then making sure I need to stitch down this side of the quilt. So those are things that we need to do to prepare ourselves to have the best quilting experience and to make the quilt look really good. So I'm going to go ahead. I have my glide foot on, and that helps just glide over the fabric so I don't have any issues. I'm quilting less than a 1/4 inch along the edge of the quilt. Okay, and go ahead. And I do have the infinity, so I could have clipped that bobbin thread, but you know, I am so used to doing it the other way that I forget, but someday I'll remember this. All right, now I am ready to take my design and place it correctly on the pattern, or on the quilt. But first of all, I need to bring the design in, and I have saved this because I shut down and went home, and so I need to bring that back up. And I can do it by pressing the open button, but the other thing that's really nice is I can go to recent, and it will be the last design that I used yesterday. So I'm right at the top, repeat alternating loops, and there it is. There's my design. Now with this quilt, every row is the same. And so I can choose the start point of the previous row as a positioning point. But if every row was not the same and I had some cropping at the top, then I would want to choose row 2, 3, 4, another row. So it doesn't matter that I've done 10 rows and I start again at row 1 or row 2, because they're all the same and I can just work my way down the quilt. Okay, so I am going to go over, and I have advanced this maybe a little too far than, well, maybe not. I'm going to be fine. We'll just do this. So what I want to do is I'm going to count over on my quilt 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of these little loops here. Now they're loops, they're not points. I could have not advanced the quilt quite as far and used one of the points here as a positioning point. So maybe I'll do that. Kerri, if you will release that, I'm going to just give myself a little bit more. That's good. Okay. We'll tension things back up. Now my machine can get to one of these points. And that's a good place to reference to on the screen. So I can see right there, that's where I want to put my design back up. So again, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that's a good one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the screen, and I'm going to find that 6th loop over. So just a reference point, and I'm going to drag it over here so that I can get it closer to my crosshair. I could have just moved my machine over, but then Jenny would have had to follow me on the camera. This way, I just did it all on my screen. Okay, now I'm going to press the follow button, and I'm going to zoom in. So it's going to follow where I put the crosshair as I zoom in. It's going to hold that. Okay, now as I zoom in, I can look at this in big form and see it. And again, I'm going to count over 6. I could do the start point, but I think I'm just going to go in to the design and position it at a point on the design. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops and come up to that point. As you saw, as I pointed to on the quilt, I am going to put my crosshair there. So if I look at this and I put my crosshair over at loop 1, there is loop 2. The crosshair is where it crosses, and that represents where my needle. There's loop 2, loop 3, loop 4, loop 5, and loop 6. Now there's no magic number. Excuse me. 6 the 6th loop doesn't mean that that's what I always have to do. I just know that if I find loop 6 on my screen, then I can take that and place it on loop 6 on the fabric, and I can just match them up, drop it down, and I'm good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and move my crosshair up to that point that I pointed to on the fabric, and now I want to press my drag button. The drag grabs a hold of that point on the screen. So my crosshair has a hold of that, and it's going to, as I move the machine now, it's going to go with me. So as I move, I'm going to find that same 6th loop on my fabric. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want it to be up here. So if I move my needle up to that point, it moved my design on the screen with me. We stayed together, and now I've married them up. I've matched them. They are all, both together, but I need to let go of the design. So I'm going to press the drop button, and it let go of it in exactly the position I need to have it positioned on the quilt. So as I move this design away and I check, I don't want to stitch that row because it's already been stitched. I want to stitch the next row. So I can go over to the start point of the next row, and this is where it is, and that looks good. But I can do some spot checking. I can come up here at the top, and it looks right centered exactly where it should be. Again here, and you can go all the way across your quilt or different spots across the quilt and check that. I'm going to go over here a few and right where it should be. So I'm really happy with that. I could go right to the end if I wanted and check that out. Now, I'm going to go ahead and press my refresh button, and that puts the design on the whole screen. So I'm not zoomed in anymore. I'm seeing the whole design. My green bullet is at the stop, or the green bullet is at the very first row. That's not where I want to be. So if I go over here where I know I want to be, I can see, oh, I need that green bullet to move down. So I go to quilt, press the quilt button, press new start end, and now I want to move my start point down one row. And so what I need to do is on the start point, there are some jump point arrows, a forward arrow and a backward arrow. So I want it to go forward. So if I press the forward arrow, it will move the jump point down a jump, which means a jump is a whole row. So that's one row, and then it jumps to the next row. I need it to jump to row 2, or the row that I have right here. So I just press that arrow, and it moved down, and it's ready to quilt. So I have all my settings. So I'm going to do pull up my thread, do my start or my tie-offs, and I'm ready to start quilting. So press run, proceed. It will move up where it needs to be. Take a pull-up stitch, move that back, resume, and it's going to go ahead and start. I keep mine on about a medium speed for this. There are not any points, they're all curves, so it's going to run really smooth. If you had a design that had a lot of points to it, you'd want to slow your speed down a little bit so that it was more accurate. But it's good to go, and we're going to stitch the next row. As I'm quilting along, the tripod got in my way and it jogged my machine. So I just lost my positioning. So you can see right here, as this comes around here, it jogged. Instead of going smooth, it jogged. So I lost my positioning. I have to reposition. Not a problem. So I know that we talked about points, matching up points, and I could match up this point right here. And so on my screen, I want to find that point. So as I move across here, that's where it is, but it shifted. So as I look at my screen, I can see that it shifted over there. So I put my crosshair on the point that should match up here, but if I started stitching again, it would actually start here. So on my screen, I'm going to take my crosshair and put it right at that point, and if you need to zoom in so you get a really accurate point, move your machine to that point. Now I want to press the drag button. So what the drag button does is it grabs a hold of that point so that I can move it. So press drag, and now I need to put my needle over to here. So my needle represents where my crosshair is. So if I move my needle to that point, right to there, and then drop it, they are both in position. Crosshair is at that point, my needle is at that point. I have just repositioned. Now I need to change my start point bullet over to this area as well. So I go to quilt, to new start end, and then I can see here's my thread. That's where it went. I'm okay. I'm going to go right over a few stitches before that, and I'm going to press the Start Auto button, and it'll move my green bullet to my crosshair. So you can see that as I do it on the screen. Now I want to press it again to turn it off or to lock it in place. So I press it and it goes light green and my bullet is locked in place. Again, I do not want to have my my start or my tie off or my pull up. I'm going to do those manually. So I'm going to go to my settings for right now to tie off. I'm going to turn both of those off. Well, turn off my start. I don't need to turn off my end, tie off end. I'm going to turn off my pull up just because I would rather manually do this. You can leave those on. I kind of like to manually do it so that I know things are where they should be. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my bobbin thread. And one thing you can do is you can take your thread and swish under here, and it brings up your bobbin thread for you. So you didn't even need to move the machine aside. And now it's going to go ahead and start taking stitches, and it will stitch right over the top of those previous stitches and lock them in place. So I go back to quilt and press run and proceed, and it's going to go ahead, position, and we're positioned and we're quilting away. Hi, I'm Vicki Hoth, and this is Kathy Zimmerman. She is a member of the Technical Solutions team.
Correct.
I could say Technical Solutions Technician.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
But Kathy is amazing. She helps, probably has helped a lot of you on the phone lines to correct issues or help
Any problems that come up?
any problems.
We
And
get the
so,
call.
because she is the expert on this subject, because she knows how to do it so well, I've asked Kathy to join me today in helping you if you need to install version 91.
Version 91.
On your Pro Stitcher.
Correct.
Okay, so the floor is yours.
So version 91 has changed from our past updates, where we are actually going to update some of your Windows software. Updates also are really important because they address issues that come up during software development. They also, if there's a new feature, you'll only get it with an update. So you want to keep current on your updates. You're going to go to handiquilter.com. and you're going to go to downloads. You want to, when you hover over to downloads, you're going to see a pop-up, and you want to go to the HQ Pro Stitcher software update. Select that. We have a nice chart that helps you identify your tablet. It's not going to hurt to put 92 on the other tablets, but if you put 91 on the older tablets, you might have to re-image your tablet. So you want to avoid that. You want to be really careful.
Choose the tablet that you have.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so we simply click on, we have instructions we can print. You can have step-by-step printed out beside you or on your laptop. So we're going to select our download. It's going to take you to a Dropbox file. The common mistake here is save to my Dropbox. We don't want to do that. We want to download. So we're going to select download. It's going to tell us it's downloading. So on my Windows 10,
designs.
when it's finished downloading, I get my message, do I want to open in folder, or view downloads? And I want to open in folder. And
Because then you need to unzip it.
Right, that's going to take me right to where it saved it. I have a folder, and I can tell it's zipped because it's a folder with a zipper on it. And that's key on this one. I'm going to right-click it. I'm going to select Extract All. Now I can tell it where to save it.
Okay.
Because I want this to go to my jump drive, I'm going to go ahead and change my destination. Select Browse. I'm going to scroll down to my computer, find my removable drive, select it, and extract. All right, so now I'm done. I can go and check. It took me right here. I see my designs on my stick. It took me right to my removable drive, and I see my update. I have a little H beside it. I now have a little PSU icon. I know now that it's an executable application, and that's what I want to see. So I am going to safely eject my USB. Okay, it's safe to pull it out now. I can take it over to the Pro Stitcher and start my installation.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, now we've got that USB stick. You've placed it in here. On that USB stick is the update.
Right.
Now I have a question for you before we get started. You mentioned earlier that if you were a customer and you hadn't updated from version 21 or whatever, do I have to update every one, 52, 79, 92?
No. Beginning with version 7.9 in 2015, those are all incorporated, so you can update the entire,
From all the way at the
all
beginning.
the way to the beginning, all the way to now without doing the steps.
Aren't we lucky?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. That's a good question because I know that we have that ask all the time.
Right.
And so we have the latest, which on this one is 91 because of the newer version of tablets.
Right. And we can check our version by going into Settings,
Okay. Let's see what we have on this one.
Advanced, and About. So right there, a little pop-up box right above your key file is your version.
79.
Version 79. We're just going to go into our design file now, and we're going to access our Windows File Explorer. That's the easiest way to do this update. So we are going to use our on-screen keyboard. Close my About. Okay, we're going to select the Windows key and the letter E for Explorer. Windows Explorer is going to pop up behind the keyboard. Carefully close the keyboard so you don't close your Windows Explorer. And I'm going to maximize it so it fills the screen. What I need to do now is access my removable disk. I come down to my computer. I have my Acer C, which is my tablet. Right below it, I have my USB. How do you right-click without a mouse?
Press and hold.
Press and hold. So we're going to select it so it's blue. We're going to hold our finger just to the right of the execute. Hold it.
On the bar there.
Come on. My finger's still too cold. Okay. The little square comes up. When you see that, you release. Square.
And there we go.
Okay,
And
your third option down is going to be Run as Administrator. Do you want
And you want me to
Would you
touch
please tap that?
You know, good. Okay, now we just
No,
wait for this. How long
yes.
does this take?
This can take, depending on the speed of your computer, anywhere from a couple minutes to 10 or 15 minutes. Now we're ready. It's checking our version right now, and it's seeing that we have version 7.9 installed, and we're asking us if we want to update to 91. We have three options. We have Repair, Start, and Cancel. We want to select Start, so we are going to. Okay. We have to choose our machine. We're going to do Next. We're going to confirm our installation, and our installation begins. Right now it's checking our files and copying them. It's going to go through this. It's going to launch the Microsoft Visual C++ software that we need to install, so we have to agree.
Okay, so you
to
put
install.
a little check.
Check that box.
I agree.
And then I'm going to install. When I close the box now, it's going to begin extracting files. This can also take several minutes. People think their computer is hung up, their tablet's not working, and they'll shut down. If we shut down mid-process, it's going to cause issues with your Pro Stitcher.
And you're going to get a call.
Yes, you're going to be calling me.
So be patient. Be patient. Okay.
We'll hang here for a little while. There it goes.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing we need to do is our Microsoft .NET Framework 4.6. So we are going to agree and accept again. We're going to install.
Okay.
Okay, and this one's a little faster. Now this one's going to ask us a couple questions, and the first thing is, do you want to allow it to close these programs? One of the programs on this list is your ProStitcher Updater. We don't want to close that, so we're going to say no, you cannot close my programs. Okay, it's going to do the installation now. Okay, our installation's complete. And we're going to go ahead and finish, and we're going to get another question. And it says, you must restart your computer in order for this software to take effect. We haven't installed ProStitcher yet, though. We've only updated Windows, and we want to install the ProStitcher updates. So we're going to select Restart Later. Okay, now our installation's complete, and because our program will auto-launch, it's going to go right into ProStitcher Launcher. You can see it at the top of your tablet. But we're going to get an error message because we haven't finished installing the .NET Framework. We haven't rebooted the tablet. So right there's my error message. Please install the .NET Framework 4.6. I'm just going to close that box.
So you don't say okay?
Nope, just going to close it.
Okay.
All right, now I need to do a reboot. The easiest way to do that is down at the bottom on your little bar. You're going to touch your power button. You're going to get an option to shut down or restart. We want to restart.
Okay.
This is going to restart our tablet and then auto launch into ProStitcher.
Okay. And that's it?
That's it.
So once this reboots, we are good to go. I can just start quilting again.
Yep.
And on there now is 16, which is 01.
So
the
this
month.
year, January, and then version 91 update.
And we're good.
We're set.
We have updated, and you can start quilting again. Thank you so much, Kathy.
You're welcome, Vicki. Thank you for having us.
Hi, I'm Vicki Hoth from Handi Quilter, and with me today is Richard Ike. He is the Director of Quality. And Richard teaches when we have retreats and we have retailer training how to install a simulator for our ProStitcher. And so I thought, what better to invite Richard to do this today, because I would probably goof and you do it so well. So Richard, why don't you go ahead? No pressure.
To install this simulator, it's really just installing the same ProStitcher program that you put on your ProStitcher machine onto a desktop computer. It does have to be a Windows computer, and it should work in Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. We're going to demonstrate it today on a Windows 10 laptop. But one of the first things I want to mention is that as part of this installation procedure, we're going to be licensing the use of the ProStitcher software to a specific computer. So I'm going to go into my internet browser here. I've already gone to handiquilter.com, and I'm going to hover over the Downloads tab up at the top and go to HQ ProStitcher Software Update. I'm going to click on that, and that will take me to the download page for the ProStitcher updates. I'm in my downloads folder. I've got this zipped file. I'm going to have to unzip it. So I right click on that, and I'm going to go to extract all and left click on that. And I'm just going to use the default that it gives me here and say extract. We are now in that extracted folder, and we have this file called psupdate.16.01.0092h. So I'm going to right click on that and choose Run as Administrator. So I'm clicking on Run as Administrator, and this will start installing the ProStitcher. First of all, Windows says, are you sure you want to make these changes? And we're going to say yes by left clicking the yes button. And if you've ever installed a ProStitcher update, this new screen here will look familiar. So it's asking if we want to update to this version that we have. We're just going to say start at this point. And then press confirm if you're ready to install the update. We are, so we'll click on confirm, and then it will start to update. Okay, and I'm going to click on close when that's done. So I get this message saying ProStitcher can only run in simulation mode. Do you want to set it up now? Requires a fully configured ProStitcher. So in order to install this, I have to have a ProStitcher nearby that I can license it from. So at this point, I'm going to say yes. Let's move forward. And then it says insert your USB drive into the ProStitcher tablet. And then we'll go to the settings over there, advanced, general, and create a simulation license. And then click OK. So at this point, I will unplug my USB stick from this computer, and we'll move over to the ProStitcher tablet, and we'll show you where to go from there.
All right, let's
But
do that.
do not click OK at this point until you've done this next step.
Okay, we're now at the machine. Now what do we do, Richard?
So we have this USB stick that we just unplugged from our laptop, where we installed the first part of the ProStitcher simulation software. Now I'm going to plug this into my actual ProStitcher. What I want to do is go under Settings and Advanced, and as long as my General tab is highlighted, I will see a button down at the bottom left that says Create Simulation License. So I'm going to tap on Create Simulation License, and I must have done something right because I got a message saying license file written.
So that means that it is on the USB.
That
if
means
it
it
wasn't,
worked.
we'd go back and...
Exactly. So what happened in this process is in the first step we created a key based on the computer we were using. And that key file was saved to that USB stick. We brought the USB stick to the ProStitcher computer. The ProStitcher computer then generates a license file based on that key. So that key file has to be on that USB stick or this step will fail. So if you get a message saying that, that this step failed or there was no key file found, then you'll need to go back to your computer and make sure there's no SD cards. I know Microsoft Surface tablets all tend to have a SD card hidden in them. A lot of other tablets and things will have them where they're hard to find. So double check, make sure any other SD card or USB stick is removed, and then start the installer again so that it will get to the point where it saves the key file to your USB stick, and then try this once more. The intent is so that you as a ProStitcher owner can have the simulation software to be able to work aside from the ProStitcher computer, do some practice on your own, do some design work without having to be right at the ProStitcher. So we want to make sure that you already have access to a ProStitcher. Whether you've purchased one or you work in a shop that has one, that's perfectly fine to use a computer and create a license with that.
And it doesn't matter which ProStitcher. So if I have, in my studio, I have 20 ProStitchers, I can use any one of those ProStitchers to get that key generated.
Exactly. But once you generate that key and create the license file, that license file will only be good on the computer that you generated the key file from. You won't be able to transfer it to other computers. You'll have to start the process over again on another computer. So I'm going to say OK on this message because it's telling me to return the USB drive to a source computer and follow the instructions. If the only designs you want to transfer over are the ones that originally came with ProStitcher, then they will already be on your USB stick that came with your ProStitcher. However, if you're like most people, you've probably created some of your own designs or bought some from other people and saved them onto your ProStitcher, or maybe you have created some layouts that you want to make sure you copy over as well. So you may want to just copy everything over anyway, just to make sure you capture any work you've done. And I'll just unplug my USB stick.
So we're done here.
We're done at the ProStitcher.
Now we're ready to go back to our computer and do the rest of the process, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, now we take our USB stick and we're going to plug it into our tablet, or our laptop in this case.
Which we could have done a tablet. If someone wants to, they could put this on a tablet.
You certainly could. Any Windows tablet or computer would be perfectly fine. We are now going to give it just a moment to register that the USB stick's plugged in, and then we're going to click on the OK button on this message box. So at this point, it already found my license file and it set it up. And so you'll notice ProStitcher started, so it is licensed and it's ready to go.
Okay, so do I have to push that simulator button to
All
work
right.
it in simulator?
Good question. We're going to talk about a couple of the simulation features here. You'll notice at the bottom left corner, first of all, that this says simulation mode. So instead of Avante or Fusion or Infinity, it tells you this is a simulation mode version. So I can go into my designs, I can bring up files, designs that I've copied over, which, by the way, we saved those to our USB stick, but I haven't yet copied them over to my hard drive. We can certainly do that, or I can just open them right off of my USB stick.
Just like we would on our Pro Stitcher.
Exactly, exactly. So let's just do that real quick. I'll click on Open.
So the bottom
and
drive
I'll go to
there.
my E drive. That's where my Designs folder is now. And I'm just going to choose, boy, what files should I choose?
Let's do one of those
Vicki?
HQ design files.
Where are they? There they are. So the little arrow indicates that there's more folders under it. We'll just open a block and pull up, what do we want? Block 17?
All right.
Beautiful. Okay, so we can load a design just as if we were on Pro Stitcher. Right now my pan button is highlighted, so I'm using my mouse to move my cursor around the screen. If I want to shift left and right, this is going to pan my screen because that's the button that's highlighted. If I wanted to zoom, I would highlight the zoom button, and then clicking and dragging up and down is going to zoom in and out. Now the simulation button is going to allow me to simulate moving the
Crosshairs?
The crosshairs, moving my quilting machine around. So now simulation is highlighted, and you'll notice my crosshairs will move wherever I drag my cursor. So
Either
this
with
is
your mouse or on the pad there, or you
Or I
can
can
use
use
your
my
arrow
arrows,
keys and
I-
do that same
if
thing.
I hold Shift and
Oh, it goes a
arrows,
lot
then it'll go a lot faster.
Which is always good.
Okay, so that's how I can simulate moving the machine around.
And
because-
create in an area.
Exactly. In order to create an area, I have to move my machine around in order to mark those points, right? So if I wanted to mark an area, click on the Area tab over here, and let's just do a multi-point area. And then I'm going to drag my crosshairs as if I'm moving my machine, mark another point, move it over here, mark another point, move my crosshairs here.
Oh, you did
And I
two-corner.
just hit the wrong button, but you
That's
get the
okay.
idea.
That's okay.
Let me create another area real
Shouldn't
quick.
be laughing at him, should I?
Yeah,
Because we
thanks,
do this
Vicki.
same thing.
Okay, so there's my area.
He
And then if
cleared
I
it out
wanted
and
to
started over.
skew that to that funny looking area, I can do that just as if I had my had it on my Pro Stitcher. Okay.
So you can create that, then you can go ahead and save it on your USB stick, take it back over, create an area. You know, there's so many things you can do sitting down, even learning, you know, for our quilters, that they can go to classes and they can have this on their laptop or on a tablet, and they can take it with them and learn from there. So it's a great feature that we have. Now, there was one thing we needed to go back to the machine because we have something else to teach, right?
We do. There may be a time you want to use your Pro Stitcher tablet as your simulation tablet, and we're going to show you how to do that.
Okay, we're back at the Pro Stitcher because you have some things to talk about here again.
I do. There may be a point where you want to use your Pro Stitcher tablet as your simulation tablet. So you may want to take it off the Pro Stitcher, maybe go to a class, learn some things on it, and bring it back to your Pro Stitcher. There's a quick and easy way of doing that, and I just wanted to show you that here. What we would do is we would go into our settings again, under Advanced, which is still highlighted, and General, and you'll notice the buttons on the right-hand side there's a simulation on-off button. So if I press that simulation on-off, it tells me to restart, and it says changing simulation requires a restart to take effect. So what I would do at this
Why?
point,
Why?
it's just the way the software is. And when
Okay.
it comes back up, it's going to be in simulation mode, not in the fusion mode. So it's going to come up.
So what
as-
it does is it takes away the motors and gives you,
Yeah. Normally the Pro Stitcher software is looking for the Pro Stitcher to be connected to it. And if it's not connected, it won't finish booting up. So what we're doing is we're just telling it, don't look for the Pro Stitcher motors. We're running in simulation mode, but we still want to be able to do everything
explanation.
in the
Thank you.
software. All right,
Thank
how
you.
about that?
yes.
So what we would do here is just do a restart. Click on
reboot.
reboot, go to shutdown and reboot, and tells me it's restarting. And then what I could do at that point is remove this from my tablet, which, by the way, from my bracket. To do that is lift a little bit on that bracket and slide that tablet out. Disconnect your cables, obviously. Okay, so the Pro Stitcher has finished rebooting, and you'll notice the bottom left corner says simulation mode. And just as we described on the laptop or on your tablet, you have your simulation button. Everything just as if it was another computer. So now I could take this aside, go to a class, and use it in order to learn all the features of Pro Stitcher without having to have it connected to my Pro Stitcher carriage and the quilting machine.
Okay, so then when I want to take it back and put on and plug it back in, I just need to do that, or do I need to turn off that simulation button?
We need to turn off the simulation button. So we'll go back into settings when we're ready to bring it back to the Pro Stitcher, or to the quilting machine here. And we're going to go into advanced, and under general, the simulation button is now darkened, meaning it's active, so we're going to turn it off now.
And then that takes away that simulation button that's on the front screen, on the main screen.
Correct. And it wants me to restart again.
Okay.
So it doesn't take effect. I can't just start using Pro Stitcher now until I do a reboot.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go back to shutdown,
reboot again, and then it comes up and finds the motors, and we're ready to go again.
Exactly. One key thing you need to be aware of, and that's in the shutdown process. So if I go under shutdown, normally with the Pro Stitcher I would just click on the shutdown button to turn everything off and be done for the day. However, when you're on your desktop or your laptop, you may just want to close out the program. So the thing you want to remember to do is just choose Exit to Windows. If you choose the shutdown button, that is tied into the Windows shutdown function, and it will shut down your computer.
Great. Thank you, Richard. You are such a wealth of knowledge, and I love having you teach me all the time, and thank you for teaching our quilters. So till next time, happy quilting.
All right.
We're back.
Okay, we saw lots of questions, and Nancy and Ty were able to answer a lot of those questions. A couple of things we want to reiterate is to get the notes, the written notes on how to do simulator, go to section 8.6 of the Pro Stitcher user manual. Okay, so that's the thing we have to remember there. Then the other thing is how to update written instructions to get the written instructions for the Pro Stitcher for the version 91 and 92. You go to handiquilter.com, go to downloads, the Pro Stitcher downloads. It's not the free downloads, Pro Stitcher downloads, and then there's a written version on how to do that. This video will be in the full. Now we edited this today, but this video will be in the full long version on our website, on our YouTube, so that you can see the whole thing, because there was a few things that were removed. The other thing is the quilter. Someone was asking how to
take the Art and Stitch designs into Pro Stitcher.
Okay, so a couple of things you want to know about that is that we say we have 1,000 designs.
Right.
Pro Stitcher itself has around 500 designs.
Right.
Art and Stitch, the program that we bundled with our Pro Stitcher, has 500. Okay, so if you want to activate your Pro Stitch or your Art and Stitch on your Pro Stitcher, and you'll do that through on page 5 or 6 of the little manual that came with your Art and Stitch. You go in there and it'll teach you how to do that. There's 2 different emails that you have to email back to Art and Stitch to activate that. You get 2 activations. You can do one on your Pro Stitcher tablet and one on a home computer. So you can sit down and do it and go back and play with it there. So once you've done that, you have to have that activated from the Art and Stitch company. Then you have access to those other 500 designs. And if you don't want to activate it on your Pro Stitcher, then on your home computer that you have activated it on, you have to bring up the designs, and it's the star. On the left panel of your tools, there's a star. Click on that and it does a box.
And it
Pop
shows
up
you
all the different categories, and you've got feathers, you've got creative fields, all these different designs that you can have. So you bring them onto your screen, then you have to add stitches to them with a little squiggly worm at the top. That's what we call it.
Yeah,
It's
the
a
worm.
stitching line. And you add stitches, and then you save it onto a USB stick. And then you take it over to your Pro Stitcher and there for you to use. Okay, so that hopefully that works. That helps you so that because if you haven't activated it on your Pro Stitcher Art and Stitch, then you will need to transfer them the other way. Okay. Okay, so now I think we've gone through all the questions. Is that right? And why would you use simulator? What is simulator? Simulator, to me, to explain it, is like an airplane when they say they're sitting in a chair and they're simulating flying in the sky. Well, that's what we're doing. We're sitting in a chair simulating, creating our layout. Then we can take it, because we save it, take it over to our computer or over to the Pro Stitcher, plug it all back in, and quilt it out.
Yeah, that's what I
Position
did.
it.
Yeah, I knew the area I wanted, so I was just sitting there in my chair, couch,
Watching
at home,
TV
right,
at the same time.
playing with it, and I set it all up, put it in there, and then I just saved it and took it on the USB and put it into my
And then
Pro
positioned
Stitcher.
it.
Then I had to go in and position it, but then I
And-
could just go.
Was it an edge to edge? So the
It was
nice
so
way
nice.
with the edge to edge is you've created it, and then you just go up, put your needle up at the top
Yeah.
left corner, and go to reposition
Position.
and use those the top left corner, and it's there, it's ready to
There you
go,
go.
and you quilt.
And you're done.
Oh, Pro Stitcher is a wonderful
Yes.
program, isn't
I
it?
love it.
Yes,
I love
we have a
it.
good time. Well, thank you for joining us today, and let's go here. So if you have more questions and need help or want to purchase anything from Handi Quilter, you can go to find your retailer close to you, and go to our handiquilter.com locator and find anybody, a retailer to help you or to purchase anything from Handi Quilter.
Right.
So lots of fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. Remember, this has all been recorded. The long version of the videos will be on our website and under this webinar, so you'll be able to find them. And we will join you next month, May 12th, for another webinar on some fun topics. So thank you, and see you next month. Bye.